Hey guys, it's Kent, your skeptical gunsmith here. Today I'm going to do a trigger job on a 6-hour P365 AXG Legion, one of my favorite pistols. Great little guns, certainly is clear. This one's got a Holosun 407K in green on it. Great pistol. Triggers are great, good out of the box, no question. Not a bad trigger, but they can be a little crunchy and sometimes a little heavy. And so we're going to go with an Mcarbo spring kit for the P365, which tends to make for a smoother trigger, a little more crisp trigger, and certainly a lighter trigger. If you're not familiar with Mcarbo, it's a military carbine brotherhood. They have a lot of cool accessories, certainly for 6 hours, some other guns, but I've been trusting them for a long time. So let's get a baseline on what this trigger is doing today. Again, the gun is clear. We'll see what kind of trigger pulls we get out of this one. So just under 5 pounds. That's really actually pretty good. What I think we would expect. Sometimes they're a little over. .514. Trigger guard is not very big, so it's difficult to get kind of a consistent reading. 514 again, that's really consistent. And 5.7. So that gives you an idea. We're 5.5 pounds. That's pretty good, certainly not bad. But we're going to see what we can do to improve upon it. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at our kit here. Open this up. It's going to have 3 parts. There's also a really good video on their website. If you want to check that out, it's another resource. I'll do the best I can to walk you through it, but very basically we have a new striker spring. We have a new safety plunger spring. This is basically for the Schwartz device, and a new sear spring. And the combination of these two are going to certainly lighten the trigger pull a little bit, make it smoother. So let's go ahead and get this disassembled. We'll kind of start with the slide component first because that's kind of the easiest to knock out. Get the recoil spring and barrel out. And we're going to need these 2 parts here. That's what we're going to work on first. So in order to get them out, here's your Schwartz device, here's your striker. We're going to have to get out this little item. I'll see if I can't show you kind of how it has to work, but we've got to get this end cap out. And there's a few different models here, but in order to get this one out, we've got to move this little device over. You can kind of see that moving over like that. We're going to get it over and down and out of the way. And that allows us to move the rear end plate. Let me get that just a little further. It's caught under a little tension from the sear itself. There it goes. Now your end plate is out. And you saw our striker just pop back. In order to get it the rest of the way out, we're going to have to get the Schwartz device out of the way. And she'll just slide right out. Keep your thumb over the Schwartz device. There we go. There's your striker. Here's the Schwartz device. You want to keep note of the orientation of the Schwartz device. Kind of this little feature here is pointing toward the inside of the frame. And there's your spring, and that is one of the springs that we're going to replace. So I'll take that spring out, and I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to get our new spring, which is a little lighter, and that's kind of the point. And I'm going to get a little grease here, because that's kind of your gunsmith glue. That's going to help keep it in place. There we go. See that? Really does work. So we're going to put that, we're just rest that back in the frame right now for a moment while we work on the striker itself. And here's the striker. Now what we have to do is replace this spring, right? And in order to do that, it's going to be handy to use a bench block of some kind. And we have to take these little, it's all under spring tension you see here. We got to get this spring out. And so we got to get these 2, if it's 2, yeah, it's 2. This might be 1 piece now. Some of them are 2 piece, some were 1 piece, but we got to get this little clip out. And the way to do that is to sort of block this little piece and then compress the spring around it so you can get that piece out, just like that. This is a one-piecer. So sometimes I can do it just by hand. Sometimes the bench block is important. For the bench block approach, you're basically going to capture that, push the spring down, and then get this little piece out. But I'll try to do it freehand here for you, just by pulling the spring down. There we go. And then this is going to kind of unsnap away. See if I can get it done. There we go, it's coming. It's under a little bit of tension. There we go. Got it out. You just really kind of force it one side to the other. Now I'm going to capture this spring. There we go. We're going to put the new spring on. It's going to go like so. Now we got to do the whole thing over again. I will use the bench block this time just because it's going to make it a little bit easier to manage. Because you kind of have to squeeze it over its where it needs to go. All right, so we're going to try to get this little plastic piece captured. Trick is getting that spring all the way down so you can get this little piece in there. It's really not wanting to comply. There we go. That might help. As you can see, this piece is a little bit challenging, just to try to keep everything aligned and try not to shoot that spring across the room, which commonly happens. There we go. If I can just squeeze, there we go, got it. All right, now we have that back together. Not the easiest thing to do, but not too tough either. It really helps if you can block this piece on something and kind of hold it in place to compress enough of the spring to where we get this piece back in place, and we got it. And I'm pretty happy with that. Looks good. Perfect. Okay, all right, we're gonna put this aside now. So we've got, actually, we'll just reassemble it real quick. Might as well. Gotta press that. You want that to connect just like so, just as it originally did, right? That little feature, this little leg is being captured in the, what is the Schwartz device here. In order to get it the rest of the way, we're gonna have to push in the safety plunger a little bit like so, to get this to go the rest of the way in. Then we'll get our end cap. We'll get that started. And in this case, what we have to do is we have to push this little leg over. This little plastic leg right here has to go over and into this slot in order to get the end cap on. So you kind of almost need a couple of 3 hands to do it. That gets us part of the way. We're gonna have to get this over enough and to go down. Let's see, I've got it over and just down enough. Let's see if I can get her started. There we go. Oop, so close. There it is. And it's in. So that was not super easy, but with a little trying, you get it done. And this is that little lever we were just looking at. This little plastic piece right here. That had to move over and down into the channel while you're depressing the safety in order to get everything back in place. All right, next step is for us to work on the frame. I'm going to drift out this pin right here. Usually come out fairly easily. Sometimes you got to tap a little bit, that's okay. There we go. That pin is out. Got a couple features on it that I'm going to show you. Two little grooves, one on each side, but this pin can go in either way. It doesn't really matter. Put that aside for the moment. All right, now we got to get the chassis out, and it usually kind of comes out. Yeah, you can see I'm just lifting it up with my rear finger. So we should be able to just rotate that out. That's pretty good. Put the frame aside for a moment. And this is your SIG P365 fire control unit. And the part that we're gonna need to replace is your sear spring. And your sear spring is right here. And so in order to get your sear spring out, the sear's gotta come out, the safety's gotta come out, the safety lever here has to come out, the trigger return spring has to come out, this plunger, that pin, and this trigger bar have to come out. So if you wanted to go to a curved trigger here or a different trigger, now would be the time to do it, because we're basically going to take this whole thing apart. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to do the best job I can to try to focus and keep focused on everything here. First thing we're going to do is take out this pin right here. This little tool, little small flathead screwdriver, helps quite a bit. Just gonna get under that. I'm gonna rotate it a little bit, and it's gonna come out. This is gonna relieve, it's actually gonna let that safety go here in just a second. There we go. Put our finger over it. Here we go, that came out. You kind of notice the features there of that little piece. I'm gonna turn our safety over. You see the safety lever here, that's what's impacting your Schwartz device, basically. That comes up and depresses it. It's free now. I'm gonna pour it and try to get it into my hand. There we go. You can kind of see the orientation of how it goes in. There we go. That actually worked out really, really well. That never happens, but there's your safety. So that is out, all right? So that's good. Eventually we're gonna have to get this pin out to get the sear spring out, but right now we need to get this safety bar out, and we need to kind of understand the orientation, because this is what pulls your sear. And right back here is the leg of the sear that this piece captures, and you can see it right there. Right there is your sear leg, and this has to be behind it. We also want to kind of note the orientation of where this is in the takedown lever. And if you can see right there, this fits. We're going to remove it. It has a little rounded knob right there, and it fits right in this area of the safety lever right here. You can see that. We'll put that aside for a moment. All right, we're making good progress here. Now we're going to rotate your takedown lever out. It's kind of in a unique position here. You can see this little thing is engaging the front of the receiver, or this little frame that the fire control unit's in, and that's how it rotates. And so we're going to rotate it this way and pull her straight out, like so. There she is. All right. Still making some really good progress here. Your takedown lever right here, your bolt, your slide stop here can just remain in place as long as it's not moving. Don't touch it, just leave it. We're going to turn the fire control over unit now and focus on the trigger bar right here. We're going to focus on removing this trigger bar because we have to get that out in order to get this piece out, which is your disconnector. All right, and this comes out by removing your trigger return spring. And the easiest way to do it, basically all we're going to have to do, you can see that it is captured in two places, one right here, and another, it's going through a little hole right there. And that's what's keeping the spring in place. And so in order to get it out, we kind of have to push down a little bit and get it out of that little hole. And the tool that we need for this, you kind of need a little bit of leverage and a little bit of pressure, kind of keep everything together. Kind of hold that trigger bar in place. It's moving on me right now, which is making it a little more challenging. There we go, and there it is. So I just got it out. There we go. So now the trigger return spring is out. Problem was this was moving at the same time, making it difficult to untension it. It comes out of this little spot right here, you can see, and through that little channel, and we're just going to back it right out. See that? That's kind of how it goes. We'll look at this for a moment. This can go back in either way. It's not directional. It's symmetrical. All right. Now this would be the perfect time if you wanted to remove your trigger and swap it out. You just drift this pin out right here and you can swap out your trigger. But we don't need to do that. What we do need to do is get this out of the way just a little bit and slide the disconnector down. This might be silver on some of your guns, and this one it's black. We're going to slide it out of the way. That's how it goes. You can kind of see that right there. We'll put that down. Now we are in business to do what we came here to do, and that is with a, like a 1/16 punch, we're going to move this pin out, which is a directional pin. You see it coming out there on the side. It does have a little head on it, and we're going to put it back in the same spot. But now we have our sear that is about to come out along with its spring. Kind of turn it over and put it in my palm. Perfect. Put the fire control unit down for just a minute. We'll take a look at just how this is oriented. You can kind of see this only goes together one way. And that little spring, goes through a little hole in the side of the sear, right? And rests in that little pocket. And then this one will fit in a leg right down here in a little pocket right down here. Alrighty, so we are ready to start the reinstallation process. We've got our sear with our new Mcarbo sear spring, and we're ready to drop this into the chassis, and it's just going to fit right into this little pocket right here in this direction. Make sure I get a little more grease on this, just because I want it to be a little smoother, and grease tends to help with that. I'm going to put just a little more grease on the side here. We're going to use that as our gunsmith glue just to keep that sear spring in place. It's really good at doing that. Get it in the pocket. There we go. Lovely. All right. Now we're going to drop that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we kind of got to get it in that little pocket. And then handiest thing here is kind of using our tools to manipulate everything into the right location. And I don't like how that one turned out. Here we go. Try it again. Get our sear spring in the right location. which it is. Drop it into the, I'm really having a hard time with this one. Try not touching the spring side of it and just rotate it in there. There we go. That worked a little bit better. Still not quite in the pocket where I need it, but now it is. Okay. Now we kind of generally have it in the right place. I'm going to use my I think it's 5/64 punch here. It's about the right size. And kind of push this back just a little bit so I can engage it, and there I've got it. So now it's generally in the right spot, and we can install the pin that goes along with it, which is this one here. And we're just going to use the pin to drive the punch out, as you guys are probably all familiar doing. Just to use the pin as an alignment tool. Whoops. There we go. Pretty happy with that. All right, now we've got to tension the spring, the sear spring. And you see that little spring right there? I'm going to push the sear up. You see that little spring? The leg of the spring is protruding right here. We can see it right there. And so I'm going to use my tool. You can use a punch for this. You can use a little screwdriver. The punch needs to be a relatively small one. Like this one's actually perfect because it's probably a 1/16, and it is. So I'm going to push it through there. And all we're trying to do is grab that little spring. You see what I did? We're going to grab that little spring and push it up and out of the way, like so. So that we can get, there we go. I've just got to apply enough tension on it, just like that. So now that spring is tensioned and up and out of the way. And I can grab our little pin and rotate it right into, and just start kind of moving my punch out with this pin. And this pin is going to keep it in place. It's going to keep that spring tensioned. If you do it in one swift motion, you got it. Now we have all the tension we need on the sear, and this pin is started in the right place. Okay, now we're good. We're not going to put that all the way in because we've got to do a couple more things first. We've got to get the safety bar in place, and we've got to get the takedown lever in place, our disconnector, and our safety. All right, and so first we're going to start with the takedown lever. We're going to push the takedown lever through like so. We're going to watch it on this side, make sure it comes all the way through, which it did, and it's going to engage that little channel just like so. Perfect. Now that's in a good spot. You kind of notice I'm keeping my fingers on a few pieces, like that transfer bar right there, that trigger bar, just kind of keeping everything in place. It's kind of intrinsic to this design. Now I'm going to rotate that takedown lever a little bit so I can put that little nub right in that little slot. That's where it goes. And then I'm going to start getting this into place. I'm going to have to rotate this a little bit so I can get this safety bar behind it. And it's got to go, we've got to get this safety bar to go behind the sear leg, which is that silver leg right there. Thank God they painted it silver, just helps us keep an eye on it. It's going to help if I rotate the this bar a little bit. It's going to get it right behind it, which it did. Now I think I'm pretty happy with that. Everything's in the right place. That's right where it needs to be. I'm going to rotate and push that sear down just to make sure that that leg is down and out of the way. Now I can rotate this and push it in a little bit. There we go. That's kind of in and where we want it to be, but it actually went a little too far, and you can kind of see it protruding right there. There's just a little bit of it protruding, and that's where our safety needs to go. And so we're going to do that right now. I'm going to back that out just a little bit, keeping my fingers kind of in place on all these little pieces. But I'm going to use the visibility through this second hole to get the safety in place. So I'm going to drop that into place, and we're going to kind of watch it as I manipulate it down, we're going to use our little tool to kind of help get it into place. You can kind of see the hole is beginning to line up, and there it is. If I can just coax it into place a little further. And as soon as I get it pretty close, I can also do this with a punch. Start applying a little pressure with that. Little punch is actually a good tool, especially if you've got a slightly smaller one. You can move that hole over a little bit. For whatever reason, our little safety is not cooperating. There it is. Now I've got that through. All right, now that is in the right location, at the right rotation. Got the safety bar in place. Next, we can do our disconnector from this side. So we're going to move this down a little bit. We're going to slide our disconnector into the little grooves where it lives, just like so. We're going to put this back into place. Safety's in the right spot. And now we can put our trigger return spring in. It goes through this little spot here and engages right there. You can see it on the bottom. And kind of a couple ways of doing this. You can just grab it with a screwdriver and kind of rotate it under. I like doing it honestly with a finger or fingernail because I've just done it so many times that if I get it just right, I can get it in place. And voila, there it is. All right, so now we've got it all back together and in one piece. Everything looks right. That is in the right rotation. It's as far in as it needs to go. It's up against that pin. Those two pins are critical in getting this whole thing together. This, by the way, is the slot for a manual safety. If you ever wanted to add a manual safety, it just slips right into this slot here. It engages with a little detent and a spring right there. So your fire control unit is all ready to go for a manual safety if you ever wanted to install it. Pretty easy to install. You do have to cut the grip frame a little bit to make it work. Most of the plastic grip frames actually have like a recessed area that illuminate where it should go. Now I'm going to put those two little notches there and line those up with the notches in the frame. We're going to drop this fire control unit back in. Make sure everything's aligned so it wants to go back in. Sometimes it needs a little coaxing. You can do this to help a little bit, but sometimes that sticks out. So we're gonna have to do that after we get her in. All right, get her aligned, get her nose in at about 30 degrees. Make sure that takedown lever's not, or that slide lock is not sliding out. Working on these is really, and it's a function of keeping everything aligned all at one time to make it all work. They're not the most user-friendly fire control units to work on. Sometimes they fight you a little bit. Other times they go right in. And what is hanging me up right here? Or are we ready to go? That is definitely where it's catching. But that is as in as it can get. All right, the difficulty in our reassembly was the sear pin, which basically goes, it's this pin right here, and it goes all the way through, hadn't engaged this far side. And so the sear was actually at just a slight angle like that. So we had to bump the sear over just a tad to get that in, which allows us to get that all the way in. You see that? So now that is flush. Simple little thing, but it really gave us a little headache there for a moment, but we got it figured out. Let's see if we can get her together now, again at that 30-degree angle. Yep, and she goes right in. I like that. Everything looks like it should. Apply a little tension here to get that rear pin in. Use the flat end of a punch here to tap that in just a little bit further. There we go. Needs to go just a hair further. And we're good there. Let's put our slide back on. Let's get that rotated in the right direction. Let's see if we're in good shape. Get our safety to cooperate there. Rotate it over. Lock it in place. That automatically. And we're good. And let's see what it feels like with all the new parts in. Give it a test here. See if we're able to make any progress. 3.13. So we shaved a little over 1.5 pounds off. That is a really good outcome. 3.15, 3 pounds. So that is really, and I can tell it's just way smoother. We'll do one more pull. Oh, that one was a little odd and heavy. I think it was the double pull that I did there. 414. 4.2. It's gonna have to settle in a little bit, I think. 413. 4.7. I can tell you it feels a lot better. Do one more pull just for good measure. 3.5. 4.5. I think we're gonna have to shoot this a little bit to get it to settle in. And 3.11. All right, guys, well, there you have it. That is the Mcarbo spring kit installed in a 365 AXG Legion. Hope you enjoyed it.